Wait. Oh, that's the lowest it goes. I see. Well, props to me for owning a tripod and not using it properly. You all knew that this video was coming, partly because I spoiled it a lot in my past videos and live streams. But nevertheless, we're here, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're gonna be reviewing and rating. I don't know what the title's gonna be. We're gonna be doing all that for our first semester classes here at NYU, or as I should say, my very first semester here at NYU, also known as the beginning of my college experience. And we're gonna see how well I chose my classes and what first impressions I got for my first college experience. Man, I really wanted to do this, you know, because I've kind of seen other people do this on YouTube, and I was like, maybe I should try that. We're not gonna do that fancy red, green thing. Instead, we have our own criteria and rating scales. Stats F/BUS, CNTL, regress, and forecasting models is the first class. Wow, reading that name just gives you a heart attack. Microeconomics with calculus is number 2. Then we have commerce and culture, very commonly referred to as English. Number 4 is African cultures, and number 5 is cohort leadership program. I had fun coming up with the criteria for this rating video. I'm gonna be basing it off of 4 factors. The first one is professor. How competent is he or she at teaching the class and the content? Number 2 is difficulty. Is the class easy or is it hard? The third factor is going to be usefulness. How useful is it to major or I guess daily life? More major because we're talking about a university level course here. And number 4, how engaging is it? How fun is it? Does it captivate the student's attention? This whole thing is going to be rated out of 4 points. Why, for you ask? Well, it's college. Guess what? GPA is at a 4.0. They get to rate us out of 4 points, so we should be able to do the same. Higher the better, obviously, which is why for difficulty here, easy courses are gonna have higher points, harder classes are gonna have lower points. All right, so looking at the first one, professor. Obviously think he did a great job. Most of the times I understood what he was saying or what he was teaching to the entire class. Other times I find myself spacing out during lectures in a bit because, okay, let's face it, we're in a class. Like we're watching a YouTube video, we're looking at someone through a screen. If we don't understand a concept that allows us to understand the rest of the entire lecture, yeah, there's just no way you're gonna have my focus. I mean, I knew that the professor was trying his best to make us understand what statistics is all about. And for that, I give it a 3. Based on difficulty, okay, honestly, the statistics class has stuffed like a year's worth of content into a single semester. Since we're going like at twice the speed of stuff, statistics kind of started off easy. Then at the end, it kind of cranked up hard. I actually had to study, surprise, for finals. I wouldn't say it's that hard, but it wasn't like a Sunday bike ride on a lovely day. Usefulness, I'd say statistics is a pretty important thing that we need to know, considering that I'm looking forward to majoring in business. Even in daily life, I think statistics is a pretty good thing to know. Like standard deviation or mean, median, and mode. I know that's really basic. I know there's not gonna be opportunities for us to use like the F test or like the T test, Z-score or stuff like that in daily life, but like those basic things, I think it's somewhat important to keep in mind. So because of that, I'll give it a 3 for usefulness as well. And for the final factor, we have engagement. Well, as I've said, it's a screen, it's a Zoom lecture. I know the professor tried his best to keep us engaged because he asked the class questions, he would do polls, well, initially, until he found out that it basically doesn't change our engagement. There were also breakout rooms because Zoom, that's like a new thing. Attempts to keep us engaged doesn't really work when the whole class doesn't really participate, doesn't even show up to class, or during breakout rooms, keeps their mic muted and cameras shut and off. It doesn't really work out. I have to give it a 2. Next up, we have micro. Whoa. First criteria, professor. Man, how do I phrase this? 2.1 out of 5 on Rate My Professors. It has gone significantly down after this semester, meaning that her competence or performance has just gotten worse because of this pandemic age. And other than that, just overall, the vibe, the atmosphere, I just have to give it a 2. And the following criteria really will give you an idea on why I gave her a 2. Difficulty, it was pretty difficult. The first part of micro was fine. The last part of micro was also fine, but the middle part, oh my god. If I could literally scrap the grades I got during that middle part, I would be so happy. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. Let's say we got a practice quiz as a general idea of what to expect for the actual quiz or test. The practices would be much easier, very different and misleading as in what we should expect for the actual, and this has been a rising complaint. Other students have said this, so I know they'll agree. Practice tests weren't anything like the actual real ones. I gotta give props to stats for that. Stats has been doing a very good job at keeping them pretty similar. Micro It hasn't been at all consistent and stuff. I'm gonna have to give it a 2. Usefulness, obviously micro is pretty useful. As in major, again, if you don't know anything about micro, how are you gonna go about and do work in like a firm or whatever regarding numbers and stuff, where everything in business revolves around the concept of basic economics. Usefulness, we have to give it a 3 because it is pretty useful and there were a lot of interesting things I learned. I think the most that stands out to me is auctions, how auctions work, what the strategies behind auctions are, biddings. It is a very relatable part in real life. And at last, engagement. Oh boy. Let me say that I was focused during the classes only because there was so much to take notes about. If I just looked away for 10 seconds and came back to the lecture, we'd be just zooming past. During the lecture, she'd be talking and stuff. On my second computer, I would have the lecture notes on a screen. Even when she skips to another slide, I'd just be on the older slide, and I'd constantly be like, at worst, 3 slides behind. Yeah, sure, it was engaging, but it wasn't fun. I'm gonna have to give it a 2. And for a third subject, CNC, Commerce and Culture, or English. Man, I've been looking forward to rating this class in particular. For professor, I really liked the professor. The feedback I got was very, very detailed. The lectures were very organized. The classes were also very organized. I'm gonna give it a 4. Difficulty, the class was basically graded out of 3 essays we wrote throughout the semester. Our weekly assignments were just literally reading books every week or watching movies every week and answering questions and stuff. It was overall a very easy one, I should say. So I'm debating whether I should give it a 3 or a 4 because it was on the easy side. We'll give it a 3 because, I mean, honestly, writing essays isn't that easy. Usefulness, obviously English is like an underlying baseline. Every student needs to know how to write a good paragraph or a good paper in order to strive and succeed in university, I should say. This like goes beyond major and stuff. Like you should be able to write good things. Because of that, I think we're also gonna give it a 4. And finally, engagement. As I said, it was very engaging. The class is made to engage and to participate, contrary to economics or statistics where people over like 90% or 95% of the class have their cams shut off or mics muted. I can confidently say that English had over 80% probably of people having their cameras on because we have to actively participate. It was a request from the professor because very small size of like only 20 people having cameras on does lead to a better discussion because we can see each other better. And since there were at times more than 5 people lined up to speak by using the raise hand feature on Zoom, very engaging. And since our grades also kind of depended on participation grade, I know I certainly participated. We'll have to give it a 4. I think overall English left me a very good taste. That's pretty uncommon considering I don't really like English that much, but this one was different. Moving on to African cultures. Professor, very, very nice. Organized, yeah, I'd say so. Sometimes late, although really, I would never say being late affects the professor's ratings because it kind of gives us a moment to relax and stuff. I wouldn't deduct any points for that. Personally, I'll give it a 3. Based on difficulty, again, this is like a humanities kind of thing, more writing. We did have weekly quizzes, but we had no tests. Like the quizzes were super easy too. There was one group project that was pretty easy. I would say this is also on the easy side. I would never say that this stressed me out. Next one is usefulness. Truthfully, my question is how often would you use knowledge about Africa in your daily life or business majors? You wouldn't. African culture and history isn't really that commonly discussed with your friends or at the dinner table, or as I should say, later on in business. Yeah, I'll give it a 2 though. We have engagement. Was it fun or not? I know this class is also very small. Sorry we have to compare it to English, but compared to English, the engagement was kind of off. Even though it was a discussion-based class, many people had their cameras off. It'd be only 20 to 30% of the class only have their cameras on. We're gonna give it a 3 for that. And finally, we have CLP or cohort leadership program. This is gonna blow your mind. Starting with professor. Oh boy, where do I even start with this? It's not a real class. It's a pass or fail. It's not even out of an A, B, C, or D. So I can't really see much about the professor. I mean, yeah, the professor was nice. There's not much I can rate her out of. There weren't any tests. There weren't any assignments. Really has nothing to do with organization. I'll just give her a 3. Difficulty? Oh my god. This is a 4 because there were like no assignments. Even if it's an assignment, it's like writing a reflection or something. The actual assignment that actually counted was the final assignment that was really just watching a video and answering a few questions. There has never been an easier class than this because it's a pass or fail. Usefulness, yeah, it's not really useful. It's the generic things. For example, what traits are good for what? Learning, can I even use the word learning? Learning what you are all about. Really, it's predictable. I'm just gonna give it a 1. Finally, engagement. This as well. As I said, since it's already things that we know, yikes. Yeah, it wasn't engaging. It was an easy class though, so I liked it because of that. It was basically a free Friday. That doesn't mean it was engaging. I'll give it a 1. Wow, so we can tally it up really quickly. Let's figure out the totals. Commerce and Culture got a 15 out of 16, which is crazy. Really took the lead there. Only 1 point in difficulty. That made it not a perfect score. Second place is African Cultures, which is at 11 out of 16. A very big difference compared to Commerce and Culture. I see a kind of a pattern here. Like the discussion-based, writing-based classes I rated pretty high. And that's probably because it was on the easier side. Definitely more engaging because it has to do more with discussions. Essay writing, because there were only 3 in a semester, it was on the easier side. Number 3 would be Statistics, 10 points out of 16. And for the final one, there is Micro and CLP. Wow, I do not know which one I didn't do justice for. They are at a 9 out of 16, barely over half, even though both courses are at a 9 out of 16. But in my head, I know I'm gonna place CLP higher than Micro because having a lower score for professor and difficulty is much more critical than having a lower score in engagement or usefulness. CLP is definitely at a higher place. I'll just say it's a 9.5. And so there we have it. We have finally recorded this long-awaited video of me rating my first semester classes here at NYU. And hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you got a better grasp of what to kind of expect. Obviously, this doesn't apply to everyone. Students might even have different opinions on these exact same courses I took. But nevertheless, hopefully this gives you a general, vague idea of what to expect here at NYU Stern first semester. And if you have enjoyed the video, leave a like to catch more of these future NYU-related videos, NYC-related videos. Be sure to subscribe to my channel because I can definitely assure you I will try to make more of those videos in this second semester. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.